Hello, everybody, and James, thank you for inviting me to participate in this panel tonight. I'm Anna Mazzone. I have been involved in scaling sales organizations for the past 13 years, so roughly 50% of my career, all from London, despite the fact that you hear this American voice, and usually I'm scaling into the States or onto continental Europe or into the Middle East and out to Asia Pac. And this is a topic that I'm very passionate about in terms of how to scale sales organizations. So I've got five kind of what I would call kind of success factors that, based on my experience, and I've worked for 4 businesses in 3 different organizations in terms of scaling businesses. So this is what I've learned. So there's 5 things in terms of you need to understand what is your target market, what's your value proposition. Second thing you need to understand is your lead generation activity. Third thing is your sales process, your playbook. Fourth, metrics. Fifth, who is your global build partner. First thing, in terms of what is your market segmentation and your value proposition. Extremely important, it should not go without saying. Obviously, you understand what your geographical territory is, but you obviously need to understand very clearly who is the target market that you're going after, right? And what is that value proposition? So in other words, what is the ROI that you are going to deliver to that company, either in terms of taking cost out or helping them grow the top line? I worked for a company called Super Derivatives. That was one of the companies that brought me back to Europe. And I was responsible for scaling their business in across Europe, Middle East, Africa. This is where the problem was. We were a B2B SaaS solution for pricing derivatives, over-the-counter derivatives, targeted traders, because the founder was a trader, okay? So our sales teams are based in London, New York. Very obvious, right? That's where your concentration of traders are for derivatives. However, when I started going out on calls with the sales team, I found that actually, and don't forget we're SaaS, so we're licensed, so trying to find as many bums on seats to use our products, right? I found actually that people that actually could use our product even more so were the sales organization. They were the ones that needed to get deal flow back into the company. So we adjusted our value proposition to go after that target market. That cost us because we were obviously too narrow and we hadn't thought about the overall business problem. Second point, lead generation activity. I'm not here to talk about marketing programs. That's probably a second program that James could run for you. But what I am here to tell you about lead gen is sales leaders out there, CEOs, founders, do not waste your expensive sales talent with getting first-time meetings. Hire an agency to do that for you. It's a much, much more cost-effective return on investment in terms of getting an agency up and running for you within 30 days and getting appointments booked. You should have anywhere from 2 to 5 appointments booked for your new business sales organization on a weekly basis. I'm not even convinced that you should bring that back in, that even large organizations, because I was at Thomson Reuters, we had a product bag of around 25 different products across an organization of about 75 people here in Europe. And we actually, for a couple of those products, we used an outside agency for booking their appointments. And those teams invariably had better productivity rates and higher closing. So that's my feedback on that. The third point about your sales process. Obviously, you need to get that nailed down here at your headquarters. I think what's really important in that, when we were building out, when I was at Thomson Reuters, I founded the capital markets industry's first KYC managed service. And so we were building this out. We were working with a group of banks. We were working with hedge funds and corporates, and we were sitting in workshops for a whole year. And so we were learning what their requirements are, what their objections were, not only for them, but technically in terms of using our service. So we took all that information, we'd come back into our organization, we'd sit, pull together cross-functional teams that would actually, kind of pound this out in terms of understanding what we needed to be doing in terms of what the sales process is. You need to be very clear about what that sales journey is. And that needs to be then folded into a playbook so that when we hired people in Hong Kong, Singapore, Australia, South Africa, New York, we could turn to them and tell them, this is the process, right? Because it was very complicated in terms of taking that service to market. So The other thing about the playbooks that's really important is this gives an opportunity for your head of sales and your CRO to be able to actually state exactly the sales methodology they want to see used across their organization. Because it's extremely important that the sales organization is talking the same language. Why is that important? Because your sales leader is going to have to turn around and pull those opportunities out of their CRM system. They're going to make some forecasts, upstairs. And they're going to have confidence that we're all talking the same language in terms of stages of where sales are, et cetera. So that's the third point I would make. Fourth point in terms of metrics. I think we all know that, these kinds of deals in terms of B2B sales, software sales can be anywhere from 120 days to 2 years. I read a statistic the other day that said that it was now 14 stakeholders now were typically involved in a transaction. I'm sure for many of you in the room, it doesn't surprise you, it doesn't surprise me. What's really important, though, is to understand that if you have to deliver a number this year, and if your average order value, your ARR is $500,000, and you've committed to delivering 5 deals, think about these stats. 3% of your market, your target market, is going to be buying every year. Only 25% of that market is actually going to move into projects, and you are only going to win 20% of those deals. So back into those numbers. If you have to deliver 5 deals, $500,000 each, you need to have about 3,200 prospects that you need to be managing. That's a lot, okay? So the next thing you need to do is you need to look at investing in some type of account-based marketing solution. And then the final thing that I will say, because I'm sure I'm probably about out of time, is your global business partners. If you're planning to go global, you definitely need to have at least 1 business partner, if not 3 to 4. When we were building the managed service, we had several banks as well as hedge funds that could actually stand up and validate the service that we were delivering. And they were also willing to take reference calls. They were also willing to do case studies with us, webinars. They would open doors for us in new cities. They would go to conferences with us, et cetera. These build partners are extremely important. I was talking to someone earlier tonight who was, he's pre-Series A, and he's talking about, do I invest more in my sales organization? Do I invest more in customer success? Do I focus on lead gen? And he's growing at a phenomenal rate. And I was like, you've got to make sure that you take care of what I consider those build partners, because they're your future in terms of the growth of your company. So those are my 5 points. Thank you.